Wonderful. Hello. Awesome. I'm going to bring the panelists up, but my name is Stacey Snyder. I am the producer of this year's summit, and we are so grateful that you're joining us today on our Innovation and Education Day. I'm especially excited to be introducing this panel, the Film Fest panel, and bringing us over to Nancy, who's our moderator. So this panel is all about how to best utilize the film festival experience to find pathways into the film industry. Nancy has almost 30 years in the film industry, has experience in the film industry, and she consults for strategy with film festivals, films, education, art school, art houses, all sorts of good things. So Nancy, I'm going to pass it over to you, and I'm going to bring your other panelists up.
Okay, wonderful. Happy to see you all here. Welcome to the Brick Foundation Virtual Summit and our panel, Navigating a Successful Film Festival Experience. You guys are very lucky today because you have an amazing group of panelists. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves as soon as I see them all on here. And then I'm going to kick it off with a few questions. But after that, please fill in your questions in the Q&A, and we will get to as many of them as possible in our short 1 hour time period. So welcome everybody. Let's see. It's amazing, all these people on our panel. All right, let's just go around as they are on my screen, and we will start with Estelle. You want to just introduce yourself?
Hi,
and say a little
everyone.
bit. Yeah.
My name is Cecile. I use she, her pronouns. I'm zooming in from Tongva Land, or commonly known as Long Beach, California. I serve at Visual Communications, the nation's first media arts organization dedicated to the authentic representation of Asian and Pacific folks in America. And we produce the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival, where I serve as a senior programmer and the staff auntie.
Excellent. How about you? Let's take it over, Ben.
Hi, my name is Ben Thompson. I'm coming to you from New York. I work here for the Tribeca Film Festival. I'm the head shorts programmer. I've been with the festival since 2003, but have been programming well over a decade now. I've watched over 10,000 films. I love short films. I love festivals, and I'm very excited to be on this wonderful panel. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Ben. Next, we will introduce Yvonne.
Hi, thank you, Nancy. Hi, guys. My name is Yvonne Coteruelo. I'm from Cuba, but I live in New York. I'm a film programmer with the Cleveland International Film Festival, also a programmer for Atlanta International Film Festival, Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival, and a short programmer with Aspen Short Fest. So I'm really excited to be here today with all of you.
Amazing. And now Diana.
Hi, I'm Diana. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm right now in West Hollywood. I'm the director of the Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival, LALIF, and I'm also an international programmer for the Toronto International Film Festival. I take care of Iberoamerica and the Caribbean. I'm also the artistic director of a festival in Cali, Colombia, that's called Ficali.
Okay, excellent. So I'm going to get this started, but please, I want to encourage all of our participants to pop questions into the Q&A, and we will just bring them up as they come along. But in the meantime, we can get started. So as you all can see, we have an amazing group of very experienced panelists. So if nothing else, if by watching this panel, you're already like 10 steps ahead of where you were this morning. So now you know some amazing people. Okay, so first, one of the things we want to talk about is the benefits of being in a film festival. I'm thinking that maybe we can just I'll put the question out there and have one person start, but then whoever wants to, chime in, we don't all have to answer every question, just to sort of keep it moving. Diana,
Mhm.
do you want to talk a little bit about, how do film festivals, what are some of the benefits of film festivals for filmmakers?
Well, that's a very big question because of course the main importance of film festivals is that they are a platform for talent, not only filmmakers, or like not only directors or not only producers. Film festivals are a big platform for everybody in the industry. And the ecosystem of film festivals allows for filmmakers to interact and network and get to know people in every side of the industry. So from sales agents to distributors to other to colleagues, but also it is through film festivals that filmmakers also get to test and see how audiences respond to their work. So it is, the importance is why, I'm sorry, I just people start screaming here. The importance is, kind of this very rounded sort of experience where filmmakers are in touch with the people who are consuming the films, but also the people who make these films grow and the industry sort of move along.
Excellent. Ben, you want to add anything to that maybe about what about if you're not a filmmaker? Is there anything to be gained? I mean, not a filmmaker, but if you don't actually have a film in selection.
I think if you don't have a film in selection, I think it can be a very valuable experience to go to a festival. Firstly, just I'm assuming if you're making films, then you're interested in films and would want to see them, and film festivals are great places for that. But also for the experience to see how everything works. I mean, most of the major film festivals are very big. There's a lot going on. It's not always that easy to navigate. So having that first-hand experience can just make it a little easier and smoother for the time you do have a film and want to go to a film festival. And also, it's a really good way to see what is programmed at film festivals. And let's say you had a film which you didn't enter, you can always have a look at what that specific festival is programming. Do you have a short film? Are they showing a lot of short programs? Is it, do you have a feature doc, or is it a more doc-oriented festival? So I just think there's kind of a wealth of experience that can be gained, even if you don't have that, film.
Absolutely. Larry, hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Let's have you introduce yourself, and we'll pop a question about, talk about the benefits of volunteering.
Well, hi, everyone. I promise I was here on time. I was actually 3 minutes early, but they were deciding. They were like, do we want to let him in? We're not sure. Should we just have him sit out this time? But anyway, I'm here. Nice to see everyone. I'm Larry LeBeau from New Filmmakers LA. I'm the co-founder and executive director. I'm also a very proud board member of the Brick Foundation. So thank you all for showing up. And to this question, I think everyone has added some great stuff, but I would just say, yeah, I mean, you're, going to a film festival, you can get a lot out of it, even if you don't want to work in the entertainment industry. I think film festivals are known as a place for discovery. And that's what turned me on to film festivals when I was like 15 years old, was this place where I could go and I could discover something brand new that most likely I otherwise wouldn't have seen. Back in the day when there were like blockbusters, right? Certain people would go into blockbusters and they'd look for those key festival laurels on the covers of like VHS or DVD. And I think that was like an indicator for people, whether or not they were interested in working in entertainment, that was a piece of content that probably wasn't so mainstream that they could get an opportunity to discover a new voice. And so I think that's really cool. If you are working in the industry and you don't have a film at a festival, I think every festival makes an effort to create a hub, right, of people who do work in the industry, people who have their films at the festival, people who work adjacent to some of those films that are at the festival. And so it's definitely a great way to build resources, to build tools, to build connections for your upcoming projects, for sure. So yeah, I think it's definitely beneficial to attend film festivals, period, regardless of what you do.
Excellent. All right. Would love to start to move on to strategizing and talking about how can filmmakers figure out which festivals to apply to. So Asil, would you like to start that topic in terms of, listing a few items, and then we can sort of go around and continue to elaborate. There's so many things to think about when you're trying to figure out where your film should go.
Sure. Thank you for this question, because I think a lot of like my peers in the film and emerging filmmaking, they all want to premiere at the fanciest film festival ever, and that'd be wonderful. But I always ask them, like, what do you want to do with your film? Like, my favorite example is Filipinos and cats. If you make a Filipino film about cats and you want it to premiere in Park City, but there's a strong Filipino cat-loving population in Long Beach, California, your film might have a better splash in Long Beach, California. Filipinos and cats represent. So I always ask the filmmaker, like, walk me through, or walk the homies through, like, what is it that you want to do with your film? And maybe we can find a place to have a bigger splash for that. And in that, to Ben's point, like understanding where, like, which film festivals may have already been championing Filipinos or cats or pet adjacent type of films. I hope that answers your question, Nancy.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yvonne, do you want to elaborate and maybe bring up, what if you are an alumni? How does that affect where you apply? Oh, but you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Yeah. Okay. I should say, before being a programmer, I used to be a film producer. So I think that part is one of the most important when you create a strategy, for your film. So for me, it comes with the first thing is about to understand what is your film about and what kind of film, as I've been saying, for what kind of festivals. So you need to be doing research while you are even in, when you know your project and you are even in development, you need to be doing research about what kind of festivals can be a good place, for my film to be in the future. So I think this is a very important topic, and a very, very broad topic, because it not only implies the filmmaker, but also the producers. So which are a very important part in the process of a film. It's like they need to be connected, and they need to be creating a strategy. So for me, in that point, the most important thing is create like an agenda, with a defined goals, where you want to be, what are you looking for, for your film to make an impact on. It's about representation. It's about audience engagement. It is about maybe distribution. You need to be clear on your goals. So that's like my advice is like that's the starting point.
Yes. Let's see, Diana. What about submitting rough cuts? Should filmmakers submit rough cuts?
I think the most important, I think that it's totally fine to submit rough cuts, but I think it depends a lot on the film. It depends a lot on timing. And I mean, I want to start a little earlier, because I totally agree with Yvonne about how important it is to be to be thinking about festivals for your film way, like when you first start like boarding your film, and I think there's something that I find very important, and is knowing about the films and projects when they are being conceived, when people are looking for the money for them, it's like knowing about, like, getting the word out about the kind of work that you're doing and that you have a film coming up. It's something that's important. But then I would be, I think I would be very careful with with what's the right timing to start sending, like your film, and when does it make sense to send a rough cut. I think it's important to not rush if you don't think that you are actually ready to be showing your film. And it's a very difficult decision because the more time it passes, the more money you need, the more, like anxiety, like it's very easy to get caught up in the need to get the film out as quickly as possible. And I don't think that's necessarily the most important, and it totally depends on the film. If you have a documentary that's like very timely and that it needs to be released very soon because of the subject matter, because of the essence of the film itself, then go for it. But if you are, like working in a more, like on a fiction or in a film that can take a little bit more time until you feel that it's like actually solid to send it, I suggest that that's a better option.
I was wondering if I could jump in and add to
Yes.
Diana's point as well. And she's absolutely right. Like having a strategy and looking at the bigger picture, and especially the festival kind of year-round calendar. So if you start a production, as much as many people want to, you're not going to be able to cram all of your shooting and all of everything into like one day. And that's the same with the festival calendar. You don't want to just send your film out to all the festivals in November, and then that's kind of all the festivals in the fall. You want to look at kind of the year-round strategy and where your film can potentially go, and also kind of sending the film out to all festivals at one time can create a situation where you might get into a lot of them and not be able to attend, or you might not get into any of them, and then that's kind of a crushing kind of. I've like Yvonne, like most of us on this panel have been on both sides of the fence, and it can be a very daunting experience just sending your film out there and not knowing what's happening to it. So again, I think we're all in agreement that kind of researching festivals and kind of looking where your film fits best, or just trying to figure that out, can save you so much time and money along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also just one quick thing there just is that also the premiere status of the premiere status requirement of different festivals, because like for some festivals you are required to be presenting the world premiere, but it's different and not for every festival. For every film, the festival has the same policies, so if you are playing local, choose your local festival very well, because you can play a little bit around with the international and with the other, like festivals, but particularly at festivals that are more local to you, more niche, more, I think you really have to think probably about, like, does it make sense to maybe not go to like, like a bigger film festival, but have a exclusive and nice premiere at my local festival, and then do the rest of the festival circuit at a later time. Like, it totally depends on your film and what spaces does it have close and far from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I want to bring up one of the questions from Allison. She would like to know, and I think this would be good to have everybody sort of chime in with a quick answer because we have so many great festivals represented. But what are some key elements you look for in submissions when selecting the films that make it into the festival? Ben, do you want to start off?
Yes. And I was actually reading the question below. My answer was going to be comedy. I really actually need to see more comedy in submissions. I think it's something that's very difficult to do, and not as many filmmakers attempt it. I mean, for Tribeca, we average about 6,000 submissions per kind of festival for shorts, and the vast majority of that straight kind of narrative drama, and often quite heavy. They deal with death, kind of loss, grief, and we have such a smaller pool of kind of things that are bright, are hopeful, that make us laugh. So I think when my colleague and I, Sharon, are putting together a program, we never kind of look at the films that we put together and think, okay, we've got a pretty good program, and these shorts all work together, but you know what? It's way too happy. We have to really find some things that will drag people down. It's like too upbeat. It's always the opposite. We're looking for where can we kind of add moments of levity? Where can we lighten these programs up a little? So I know there are so many different answers to that question, but I think that's my part, and I'll pass it along.
Excellent. Yeah, I think in general, comedy, but also just, you don't want to stand apart from all the other dark submissions. Isil, you want to chime in on what you're looking for when you're programming?
Similarly, like it's a lot of live action narrative that are so serious. But I think on our programming team, the one thing that we notice first after we watch a film is we notice the runtime, and we kind of understand how that might fit in our sort of fixed time slots in the world, and then understand, we measure its premiere status and see how that might fit into our ultimate lineup. I love 9 minutes.
Yeah.
I love 9 minutes.
I was actually going to ask that as like a round robin question later. We'll get back to that. Yvonne, you want to talk about anything your festivals are looking for in particular in their submissions that make selecting?
I should say, personally, I'm always focusing on, how can I say, when you blend your storytelling, but with an authentic passion, and commitment. I work a lot for documentaries, so that's one thing that I always looking for, when I watch a documentary. But also, of course, I am always looking for a spark of originality, in a way to say, for shorts, for example. I am really open to see, new form of storytelling. So the people that brings like a very unique voice, fresh, it's like, oh, there is something that I really want to find, that I'm always scouting for. But pretty open, I should say, part of my mission is to shape a program, to compose a program with enough variation in tone and form, so we can bring a little substantial program to our audience. So it's more about trying to make an impact with your film in a way that people can notice your film and bring your voice. For me, it's like when I see a filmmaker that has a voice, it's like, oh, I'm very interested in this. And maybe sometimes I cannot include the film in the program, but I will keep following the filmmaker, which is something I think is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Diana, anything else to add about elements you're looking for in submission?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, of course, depending on the festival is very different, what we're looking for. And of course, again, like totally agree with everybody that what everybody's saying, and is that in the end we're looking for these programs where films speak to each other, so the programming process is very organic depending on what we receive. So you have to be super open, like to how this, like how one like stories speak to you. But I'm always definitely looking for forward thinking, like filmmakers who are telling stories that regardless of the genre, comedy, horror, drama, that they are sort of like questioning or like thinking about society and presenting new ways of looking at issues, so that revert, like stereotypes of femininity and masculinity are super exciting, like documentaries that become very cinematic because they're pushing, like their relationship with the medium. I think those kinds of films are always so appealing, and there's of course like as many ways to create those kinds of amazing films as filmmakers in the world, like you'd be surprised of how I get very surprised by films every year and every programming season, you know, so that's exciting. I think definitely like embracing like, yeah, that unique voice.
Excellent. I feel like we've gone through that question a lot. Larry, I don't know if it's okay if I start you with a different question, or did you have anything?
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
please,
let
please.
April-
And I echo what everyone has said.
Exactly.
You know, you have to, it's really specific to every festival. And every programmer has specific tastes. So you've seen some things recently come up and be programmed at certain festivals, which have gotten bad reactions from other people at the festival or audiences at the festival. And so you're gonna find this is very much based on taste of programmers. I think the best thing that people can do is really look through past year programs, see if programmers are the same programmers that year, and they'll generally get a sense for like what the taste may be and if their film sort of generally aligns with that. But at New Filmmakers LA, I think we're looking for everything. We're just looking at the end of the day for great storytelling, great content. So yeah.
Great. Well, I'm gonna let you start off with April's question. And Ben sort of brought this up a bit. Thoughts on comedies' place in the fancy film festivals? Any advice on submitting a comedy when it doesn't always seem like they belong? So do you have anything?
I guess it depends on what's a fancy festival. Is it what like Asil said, where it's like the top tier festivals? Because if it's like Sundance plays comedies all the time, really weird, quirky, great short comedies and feature comedies. So I guess there's a place for, I feel like there's a place for content at festivals if the content is great. You know, kind of going back to that question, but yeah, I guess it depends on the festival. Tribeca plays Ben a lot of comedy when it gets good comedy, and Sundance plays it. And Diana, I think I would say TIFF plays great short comedy. So that would be my response.
Do your research. See what festivals are playing. Yvonne, anything to add on comedy? Are there specific festivals that you work with that are more prone to programming comedy than others?
Yeah, I should say, like Larry mentioned, I'm open to everything, like really, really open. So sometimes good comedies are very hard to find in my personal taste, you know, but I'm super open.
Okay. A couple people were asking about cover letters, and I'd love to get everyone's take on, do you read the cover letters and what are important things to put into your cover letter when submitting? Obviously, Film Freeway has a place where you can add a cover letter, and you know, sometimes you can reach out directly to programmers with a letter. Asil, why don't you start us off on that one?
I do tend to read the cover letters because it contextualizes to me their point of view as a storyteller. I like those ones the most. I don't like the ones that feel like instant resumes. I just like to understand their point of view, and it helps me kind of flesh into their director statement a bit more so. But I know some of my colleagues, they just ignore it. They just go straight to the credits.
Diana, do you read cover letters?
Yeah, I do. And I mean, like, I asked our programming committees and like the programming teams usually to read all the materials that we get submitted. I personally tend to first watch and then read, just to, you know, like just to watch with like a fresh sort of like eyes and perspective. But we try to be very respectful with the work that people are doing. And when you're submitting and you're putting all, you know, like this care and attention on how you're submitting your films, we try to honor that, you know, like as much as possible, and really read and check the materials that we receive for sure.
Yes. Yvonne?
I should say I'm a voracious reader. So that is one of my favorite parts, you know, because it's sometimes you watch a film and you are a little bit on the fence, and then you go and you read the letter. So it's a very important moment, you know, when you can have a taste of the filmmaker, of the person, you know, behind the story, and you can see if that filmmaker is able to articulate a passion or not. So it's very important to have a good letter. Why not?
Yeah, I agree. It's almost like having a Q&A after watching a film. Okay, I'm going to skip to a question of mine, which somebody brought up. Ideal length of a short film. I know filmmakers are always asking, how long should my film be? So let's just start with Ben. And do you have an ideal runtime for a film? Obviously, the story needs to, sometimes lends to certain lengths, but.
The general answer is I think a film is as long as it kind of needs to be to convey that story. However, there is, I think, in programming terms, a length that is easier for programmers to work with. So the longer you get, the more difficult it is to kind of move that film around into different programs, especially if it goes above 30 minutes, you're essentially taking up kind of 2 15-minute slots, or if you like 9-minute films, 3 9-minute slots. So that film has to be, really amazing and has to move very fast. And I've seen 27-minute films that have just gone by like that. And I'm like, oh wow, that's over already? That felt like, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I've had 9-minute films that have, I'm like, wait, this has been going on for 6 minutes and it's still going. Like, so I think,
not all about
yes, finding the pacing and the way the story kind of flows is so important. And sometimes that can kind of deceive you with the actual length. But I can speak for Tribeca, and everybody else can speak for different other festivals, but I think kind of that 12 to 16-minute sweet spot is very good for us. And if you look at our programming, if you look at the shorts that we put together, you can see that a lot fall into that range, and then a smaller amount fall outside that. And that's just easy for when we are laying out our cards with our film titles and we're moving things around and saying, actually, this fits better going into this. It's easier to play with that length rather than the 34-minute film where like, this is great, but where can I put it? So long and short answer there.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to chime in on runtime? Larry?
Ben just nailed it. I have nothing to add to what Ben said. That was it.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
All right. Megan would like to know thoughts about festivals for screenwriters. You guys want to just chime in with any good festivals that you would recommend for screenwriters?
I'll chime in on this one to start, just because I felt like this was something we touched on strategy earlier, and we touched on strategy as to the content and does that match what a festival might be interested in content-wise. But what we didn't talk about is what is your strategy for what you want to get out of a festival, right? And that question is the question you need to be asking the same about submitting a screenplay to a festival that has a screenplay competition. Is it going to move the needle in terms of what you're looking for it to accomplish within your sort of game plan of your career, right? Is it so that you can get recognition in industry publications? Is it just so you can get your name out there as a writer in general? Is your objective to get signed to an agent, right? Because if it is, then it needs to be like a Blacklist or Nichols Fellowship. It has to be one of the bigger competitions. Is it that you're looking to get funding? So I think the question is, you have to look at what a screenplay competition at a festival or outside of a festival is offering, and make sure it aligns with your goals in terms of what you wanted to accomplish for yourself would be what I would add to that.
Okay, so Blacklist for one. Anyone have any good, if you are a screenplay, what are screenplay competitions that you guys recommend?
I think it depends on the film and who are you producing it with, where is it coming from? Because, for example, there are like a lot of European labs that tend to be really, really good and push your films forward quite a bit. So I don't know, I'm blanking here, but I know the Rotterdam Film Festival has a really good sort of space leading up, like for when you're like in the writing process, and they usually are like very strong, but again, like they're looking for a certain kind of project. So I think there are a few around, and something that I would suggest based on my experience of talking to US based filmmakers is to look at labs that happen outside of the country and in other parts, because there's a lot happening. Like if you have, for example, connections with Latin America, what are like potential labs that could work for you? So like branching out and looking at what else is going outside, because there's a lot, there are a lot of resources for like the writing process, and now that a lot of this stuff is happening virtually, a lot of these labs are allowing more participants from outside, can participate virtually.
Mm-hmm. Yvonne, any of the festivals you work for have a screenplay competition?
Not really in that way, but I wish. It's a good idea to keep thinking. Yeah, but as Diana said, I'm trying to think, because I remember there are many, many resources, but most of them that I recall are outside the US.
Yeah, and I think I would add too, like I saw Michelle Sugihara is here from CAPE, and there are a lot of organizations that have development programs within their organizations like Outfest or CAPE or Film Independent. And so Diana, you made a really good point. It's not just what can I win, it's also like this opportunity can be used to develop your content, to build meaningful connections, to get feedback from the kind of people ultimately that you're going to want to pitch that project to. So I think like looking at it that way, and not just, is this going to get me visibility, or is this going to get me money, or is this going to get me an award? And like, how is this going to help me further develop my project is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's move on to Maya would like to know, how should a creator market an animated film before and after showing at a film festival? Who wants to take that one? Anyone working with animated? No one volunteering?
I wish like I had like the Latinx in animation people that are probably somewhere around there in the like watching the panel, like could talk a little bit about it. I in some ways I feel that the marketing strategy like is very unique to every film, but at the same time there are certain parameters that every film should like carry forward. So I don't know, I'm thinking like honestly, like just thinking out loud, I would say that depending on, for example, like what's the most important for your film? Is it like the characters, like do you want your characters, do you want people to start identifying who each character is, because that's something that's very relevant for your film. Like I like thinking about animations that I've seen marketed in a very interesting way. But as with the rest, is like you need to develop a strategy that's unique to your film. And the marketing strategy, again, is as important as the rest of like the process.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
say,
Ben?
I was going to add, I would say the film festival is really how you market your animated short. For the most part, there are so many amazing animation festivals out there as well, and festivals, major film festivals, small festivals, every other type of festivals that have animation. We have an animation program at Tribeca, and a lot of these festivals are Academy qualifying. You win the festival, and you kind of are eligible for an Oscar, and that's a really great way to market your film. And especially in Europe, you have so many sales agents and distributors and buyers who look at these festivals, and animation is something they know they can sell as well. So if you're in an animation festival and the film is very well received, and it does well, and you've done your own job of kind of promoting your screening and your acceptance into that festival, I think it can take off in a lot of different directions. So I agree with everything that Diana said as well, but I would also just say, like, this is a festival strategy panel, and that's the way I would always kind of advise filmmakers to go first with their projects.
Great. Okay, I'm going to jump with South by Southwest approaching. I'm going to jump down to an anonymous attendee's question. What advice would you give to someone heading to a big festival for the first time, South by Southwest in my case, with a narrative short? I'm getting approached by sales agents since the announcement, and any advice on signing before the festival or wait until after? So let's just go around and give, general advice on what to do when you're there with a short at a big festival like South by, and advice on whether or not you should sign before or wait until you're there. Asil, you want to start off?
I was like processing everything. In my other life, I am a film publicist, and South by is so many things happening at once. And so for filmmakers, I always encourage them to be present at everything. You are the best ambassador for your film. Like, to Ben's point, like, the film festival is your marketing platform. I would actually recommend working with someone that could help increase your visibility, covering shorts. So working with a publicist that can, like, get your film and kind of get your film into press coverage and preview coverage. But in terms of sort of programmatic and festival-like presence, I was just being 100% present, and also I always encourage folks to be in community with your fellow filmmakers in your lineup, just so that you can have presence with them as well. I'm not sure if I have enough information to answer the agent question.
Sales agent, okay.
Yeah, I'll pass it back to you.
Ben?
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, go for it, Larry.
Jump in? Yeah, I would say, I mean, I've had my own content play at South by twice, and your work starts now, since you know now. Don't only count on hiring a publicist to do the job for you, because no shade to publicists, we love them, but a lot of time people hire them and they don't get the results that they want to get. So you should definitely take the opportunity very seriously, because it's a major festival. And I would actually definitely recommend hiring a publicist to maximize the opportunity for yourself. But I would know that you still need to be doing that work as well. Definitely agree with what Asil said in terms of aligning yourselves with, yourself with other filmmakers at the festival, being somebody who wants to celebrate and participate, and other filmmakers who are playing at the festival as well. But I think it goes back to, like, research. You really have to be doing your research and engaging with press on your own now, letting them know that you're playing, seeing if they want to take a look at the film. In regards to the sales agent part, I personally do not think that you need to sign with a sales agent now. It's a short. It's really unlikely that this short is going to need a sales agent. If it rises to the top, it would happen through winning awards. You'd get offers from any major distribution platform, like a Netflix or an HBO, if it rises to the top. Or with an HBO, you'd get a distribution offer if the content is specific as to things that they're looking for. Most of the shorts that we play that end up getting offers from Netflix or HBO or these kind of companies, they've either got a story, or they're a filmmaker from a certain region that those streaming platforms are looking for, or they've won a big enough award that they feel maybe it's an Oscar contender. Generally, outside of those things, we don't really see too many shorts need a sales agent for the most part, but that's been my experience, and I think someone else should probably chime in on that, maybe Ben.
I think everything that Larry and Asil has said has been absolutely right. I would say enjoy yourself as well. Go and have a good time at the festival. Don't, I've seen filmmakers who have gotten so worked up about, I can't miss any single opportunity. I have to meet all of these people. Let it be an organic process as well. You're going to meet great filmmakers. meet the filmmakers who are in the other shorts programs, watch their films, build relationships, make friends. And one piece of advice I can think of that happened many years ago at Tribeca was we had a very, very successful short, and the director gained kind of a lot of interest. It got fantastic press coverage, but he wasn't working on anything after that. He didn't have his kind of next project that he was, which was, it's fine if this is the one film you want to do, and you're after that you're out, you're done, you've accomplished what you want to do in the industry. But if that's not, if you want to kind of build a career, if you are looking to make other projects, whether it's ideas you have, like just have that ready in case someone says, I loved your film, what are you working on next? Can we talk? What's happening? And if you're like, I got nothing, then it's a short conversation. So use it, and we've all said this, use it as a platform. I mean,
yeah. Diana or Yvonne, anything else to add about best practices?
No, I think I was just exactly going to point to the same, like be ready to have conversations about your interests and your careers, and like usually like festivals provide you with an attendees guide, like with a list of industry people that are going to be there. So take a look at it ahead of your trip,
Yeah, I wanna say something. As far as I know, actually, the film is about the shared experience. So enjoy the festival. It's share with people. It's a place of shared experience. So, and now, if you can go in a person, it's like go ahead and enjoy yourself. Like
the first live festival in a while.
I just want to add one more thing too, to Yvonne's point, to Asil's point, to Ben's point of the connectivity and working with the other filmmakers of the festival. This is just something that I thought was really cool. I'm going to paste it in the chat. So one of our alum, Rafael Tomasetto, Ben, who played Huella at Tribeca last spring, that then played Sundance this January, he launched this collective called Brazilian Filmmakers Collective. He's a Brazilian producer, director, writer. I just feel like in terms of like organic, fun, cool ideas when you are going to a festival, to maybe align with other like-minded content creators who may be there, or subject matter that has similar themes, or let's say you're LGBTQ plus, or your content is, maybe think about like creating a meetup or like a gathering of people at the festival who really align with that content or your background. As a filmmaker, maybe organize a very informal mixer where everybody can get together, and then you start really building and honing in on your community of people who align with you or align with your content. And I think that might be interesting depending on what your content is, especially if it was animation. That's very specific.
Great advice. Anyone else on that? Okay, good. We're going to move on to Christina. If you live in a small town, what is the best way to find film festivals if there are none in your neighborhood? Anyone want to pick up on that one?
Film Freeway, but be careful because there's like 7,000 festivals on there, and a lot of them are not good, but they're the best festivals on Film Freeway as well. So
any other ways to find festivals in your neighborhood? Yes, Ben.
I think it's tough if there aren't festivals in your neighborhood. It's probably very difficult to find them, but pick places where you're interested in going as well. I mean, if you're a creator, if you're a filmmaker, like there are stories out there, and you do have to probably experience a little bit of the world to kind of get those to come to you or inspire you to in your own writing. So pick a place. If you've never been to Chicago and you really want to go to Chicago, and you've got a friend in Chicago, and there's happens to be a film festival around that time, then that's a fun, it makes it a fun trip. I tend to do that. I'm a runner when I'm not programming, so I tend to do that with like places I want to run. So I feel the same applies to film festivals, I hope.
I think film festivals that are also like depending on your film, you know. So if you have an animation, or depending on the type of animation, is it more an experimental type of animation, or is it more, you know, like narrative? Are you a filmmaker who identifies Latino or Caribbean, or, you know, is your film something that would fit on a film festival dedicated to human rights, you know, or to women experience, or, you know, like there's so many different festivals that have very specific types of missions and specific types of films that they program. So going after those, I think, can also be like a smart way to get more and more eyes and more festivals on, you know, like your laurels, you know, like on the laurels in your like poster, which is usually like great. Also, film festivals sort of like open a way for you. Like once you are on one, like the, you know, like other programmers start paying attention to them. So festivals also kind of like open a way for you.
I want to bring up a topic, budget, because it can get very expensive applying to a lot of film festivals. So I'd love to hear from anyone who wants to about balancing your submission fees, your festival travel, and also whether or not to ask for waivers. Yvonne.
As I say, I used to be a producer. I always ask for waivers. So it's like, why not? I already have the no, maybe I got the yes. So go ahead and ask.
And how about just, you know, making a plan for a budget?
Absolutely. Actually, I should say this, I'm talking maybe right now with the producers. You need to put that part in your budget. Even if you have a short film, sometimes people get really dry at the end of the process after producing, editing, and doing. It's like, oh, I don't have the money for that, but that part is important as well, because what you're going to do with your film. So it's like, maybe I think we can circle back to the first topic of the conversation about have your goals, you know, very clear goals. So that is going to help you in that part, because if you identify, oh, you need to be realistic about your film. So it's like sometimes people always thinking in those like, I'm going to premiere my short at the Berlinale or premiere, but you need to be realistic. Maybe you need to be following the film festival for at least 2 or 3 years to really understand if your short is you know, it's going to be at the Berlinale batch or not. And maybe it's not, but they can be in other amazing film festivals around that they are cheaper, you know, in the way to pay for the submissions. So it's about to create a strategy as well. So everything is really making that beautiful circle, which I love, because when you see the whole picture, you can understand why it's so important to create a strategy, not only for the beginning of the process when you want to pitch your film and try to get people attached to your story, but always for the moment that when your film is going to start, you know, the travel to festivals. So create a plan, create a budget, you know, be conscious, be cautious, and, you know, do your best.
Yes. Anyone have anything to add, Diana?
No, I think I agree with everything that everybody's saying. Like the circle idea is very good, you know, like you choose certain festivals that you would pay more than $40 for. You choose some that, you know, like then you get to the point when it's like, you know, like festivals that have that don't charge for submissions, you know, like there are some of them. So I think you can definitely like make the decision on like, okay, these are my priority festivals. This would be the second round, you know, and again, it doesn't mean that each round is up from bigger to smaller festivals. It has to do a combination with bigger festival, but also then a smaller that's happening within the same dates, or like, you know, like closer to when you're finishing your production. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I would just add, and I'm sure all of you filmmakers and who are listening, who've been on Film Freeway, you'll know this, is that when you apply early, you can get about half the price of if you wait until the final deadline. So I do encourage everyone to submit as soon as your film is ready so that you can take advantage of, extending your small budget as far as it can go. All right. Oh, and also international festivals. Let's talk a moment about those. I mean, one of the nice things is a lot of them are less expensive to apply to than US festivals, but what about, getting into international festivals? It can be more challenging. Those of you, well, Diana, you've worked at international festivals. Those of you who've worked at international, maybe talk about US films being accepted to them, assuming most of our audience is in the US.
I mean, like, I think there are so many interesting international festivals that you want your film to be seen in as many parts of the world as possible, and there are some beautiful festivals. There's a festival where actually one works, the Trinia and Tobago Film Festival. That's an awesome festival. I remember the first time I went as a jury, I was like, what is this awesome festival? This is, and it's a small festival in a Caribbean island. I think there are very important festivals for shorts like Clermont-Ferrand. Like if you go to Clermont-Ferrand, like it's huge. And from my own research on like the films that festivals like that one choose, there's always a good like amount of festivals from the US. I'm a super fan of co-productions, so I think that even like your idea of internationalizing your film can start even at that, like from when you're developing your ideas and think about like connections with industries in other parts of the world. I think like one of the most beautiful experiences for me as a programmer is when like you bring a film to a festival, and in that festival, one filmmaker meets with producer or with someone else, and then boom, there's a co-production, US, Venezuela. And that kind of experience, like those things happen. So I think I would be very open to think about internationalization from the early stages of like developing your ideas, and once you are like ready, applying for festivals in other parts of the world is great. There are some international festivals in Asia that are also like the bomb, and they end up like programming like your films. Cairo Film Festival, I've seen some like really risky and fun programming at festivals like Cairo, and who wouldn't want to like have their film, like what Ben was saying, like it's also an opportunity to see the world.
Yvonne, what is Trinidad and Tobago programming primarily?
I want to take advantage. We are open now. So go ahead and submit your film. Actually, we do have different kind of competitions. So we do program narrative, documentaries, short films for sure. And we do have a small section of experimental that we are trying to grow in, increasingly, because I think it's very important to have at least a little bit of space for experimental, which I love totally. So we are open, right now, and our competition are really, really broad. So it can be documentary, it can be narrative, it can be short, So why not to try,
Awesome. And you'll give waivers to everyone, right?
Not to everyone. Ask. I heard it here.
Yvonne's giving waivers to everyone, and then she's flying all of the panelists there this year.
Oh, that we have 1 minute. I'm not sure if we just get cut off, but was thinking maybe something super quick. Pet peeves. Does anyone want to say things to avoid? Last advice to these filmmakers, what not to do?
I'll go first.
Go, Larry.
For Boyana, our programming director, it's always when someone submits and then they email like 2 weeks later, what's the status on my film? It's like, that's the most annoying thing, I think.
Be patient. Okay, Asil, quick one.
Same. Same. The
Same.
same exact thing.
Ben, quick advice, what not to do?
I'm not going to say a pet peeve. I'm just going to say one thing you should take away from this panel is the fact that you can see that the programmers, people who select your films, are people too, just like you, who are very enthusiastic about what you're showing to us. And just remember that. And I guess don't like bother us too much in that way, but we're all rooting for you.